Hi, welcome to SBR Sports Picks. I'm Peter Loshak. Today is Friday, July 8th, and we are going to get some last-minute thoughts right now on the main card of UFC 200 from a very popular figure in the MMA world, Jacob "Stitch" Duran. For anyone who isn't familiar with who he is widely regarded as the best cut man in the business. He has a personal relationship with a lot of these fighters. Jacob "Stitch" Duran, thanks so much for doing this call with us.
Oh, thank you. It's good to be on board, brother.
All right, so there's a lot of questions that people have about the condition of a lot of these fighters, and I was thinking that you might be able to shed some unique light on it. When you see a guy like Jose Aldo, who's been dealing with injuries for a bunch of years and got knocked out in his last fight, dealing with a concussion, and Cain Velasquez, another guy whose career has been marked by injury. How confident should we be that these guys are coming into these fights 100%? Because if we know for a fact Velasquez is 100%, we bet him at -300 over Travis Brown. If we know that for 100% that for sure that he's not 100%, that he's maybe 80% slowed or felled in some way, then Travis Brown is a big underdog, probably great value.
Yeah, well, I think being in top shape is always a big factor, but a majority of these fighters come into a fight with some type of injury. But if you're looking at Cain Velasquez, with having shoulder injuries and having his knees worked on and all that, I don't know how many fights he has left in the game.
Yeah.
Personally, I got to go with Travis Brown just because of the strength.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. And so when you would lean Travis Brown here as a big underdog, is that because you have some concerns about Cain Velasquez's condition?
Yeah, more of that sake than anything else. But Travis Brown is like the unsung hero.
Yeah.
That comes in and he does what he has to do, and he does it in pretty big fashion. So for that aspect, I think you're, as we call it in boxing, the changing of the guard. So
Yep.
you got the old lion going out, the young lion coming in.
Yep,
And
that's
that's
what
the
I
way
was
look
thinking
at
as
it.
well. I
Yeah.
mean, if you gave me even money, I would take Cain Velasquez in this one. But the current odds with Velasquez at -290, Brown at +250, I think the bet has to be Travis Brown. Now let's just talk quickly. I want to get your thoughts on the drug issue with John Jones. It seems kind of strange in light of how vociferous he is about being anti-doping. I mean, how did this happen that a guy who is so on the record as being anti-doping, anti-cheating and all that, then comes up with a positive test?
Well, your guess is as good as mine.
Mm-hmm.
Let's hope it's a mistake, and let's hope that John Jones doesn't have any issues when it comes to drug abuse, substance abuse, and taking any type of enhancements. I guess we'll have to find out as the days go on and the water gets a little clearer.
Yeah, I mean, my guess is really, really bad. So if your guess is really, really bad as well, that your guess has to be at least a little bit better than mine, right?
Well, my first thought was right off the bat is, you're dealing with cocaine that he's had a problem with before,
Right.
and not knowing what he got busted on. If I was a betting man,
Right.
that probably would have been my first guess.
So you think it's more likely to be coke than a PED?
That would be my first guess. Only because I know to break that habit
Yeah.
is a lot harder to get away from the PEDs, and
Yeah.
knowing that he's coming back, that would have been something that he would have stayed away from.
Yeah.
So to me, it's a matter of common sense.
Yeah, okay. Your guess is a lot better than mine because I was kind of in the dark there. All right, so let's just talk about, Anderson Silva taking his place. He says he hasn't trained in a few months, but he thinks he's in good condition to go in there and put on a good fight. He's a big underdog. I mean, you've been around, MMA for years and years. What's your take on this situation? You got an aging legend like Anderson Silva taking this fight on super short notice. He's admitting he hasn't trained in a few months, and he's a big underdog to a guy like Daniel Cormier. What would your sense be on how this fight's likely to turn out?
Well, I think for Anderson, it's a good move. Number one, Daniel Cormier is not a leg kicker, so he doesn't have to worry about checking as many, leg kicks as he has in the past, being that he had broken his leg before.
Yeah.
But this, to me, it's going to be a sparring session. I
Yes.
think no more than that. I don't, I think the fans might be a little disappointed.
Yes.
I don't think it's going to be a toe-to-toe type of fight. I think it's going to go the distance.
Yes.
And I see Daniel Cormier taking that one.
That's exactly what I was thinking when this fight came out, because initially John Jones was my best bet on the main card, and then when he when he went down, I was like, man, what am I going to do now? But now I think I like this bet even more. Over 2.5 rounds is an underdog bet. Over 2.5 rounds plus 126. Just like what you said, I think it's going to be mostly like a semi-exhibition fight. The fans are going to get to see Anderson Silva bounce around the octagon, and neither one of these guys is going to really push the other one. They're just this isn't the fight that Cormier wants anyway. Over 2.5 rounds, got to be a great bet, right?
Yeah, sure. I would take that route. Makes sense to me. If it makes sense, it probably makes dollars.
Yeah, and then what's your take on Brock Lesnar? The return of Brock Lesnar. He was recently in professional wrestling. It's not exactly clear what condition he's going to be in coming into this fight, and if he hasn't been training as hard as he normally would, or as hard as someone should to fight a guy like Mark Hunt, he could get crushed. There's definitely some speculation that Hunt's going to be in much better shape, and that Hunt by knockout is a great bet, and that Lesnar's just going to get destroyed. What are your general thoughts when someone says that?
Well, I disagree on that, because I know through my sources, Brock Lesnar has been training religiously, and has been training very hard. And
really,
he's brought in some camps. He brought in Ray Longo to work on his hands, and he's brought in a couple great jiu-jitsu guys to work on his ground game. If I was Brock Lesnar fighting Mark Hunt, I would do what he did against Keith Haring, is I would bum rush him and try to take him to the ground, and that would be his only way to ground and pound him. He's a way bigger man than Mark Hunt. Mark Hunt on the ground is probably about as bad as you and I put together. So I think if Brock Lesnar took him down to the ground and took him down early, that he might just go ahead and finish him off with some ground and pound.
All right. So you don't think...
So I know a lot of the people are talking about Mark Hunt knocking him down or knocking him out.
Yeah.
But I think Brock Lesnar realizes that, and he realizes that his best defense would be his offense, and for him to take him down and use his strength and just kind of brutally manhandle him.
Yeah, I mean, would he come into this fight if he wasn't really, truly, fully prepared? I mean, I know he, cares more about, the money than he does about necessarily getting wins or titles. But, it seems like, he wouldn't come in and just put himself in a position where he's likely to get beat bad, right?
Well, he's a proud man, number one.
Yeah.
I mean, every time Brock fought in the UFC when I was with him, I was the one that took care of him and wrapped his hands and worked with him. So I had a great relationship with Brock, and just knowing his character, he's a professional, whether he's doing wrestling or whether he's in the mixed martial arts. But I think Brock is going to come in and he's going to fight. And he's not like when he fought Alistair Overeem when he took kicks. He's not very good at that either. You know, so I don't see Mark Hunt being a guy that's going to be throwing a whole bunch of leg kicks. So it's going to be Mark Hunt's hands against Brock Lesnar's grappling. And I got to give Brock Lesnar the edge on the grappling.
All right, plus 150 are the current odds. Brock Lesnar, a significant dog, so maybe that has some betting value. And let's just get your thoughts, if you have any, on Amanda Nunes and Miesha Tate. The last two bantamweight title fights in women's MMA, of course, were big upsets. The favorites were way overvalued in retrospect. And even before the fights, some astute handicappers saw that coming. A few people saw Rousey as likely to go down, and a few more people saw Tate as likely to beat Holly Holm in the next fight. And now Tate is in the position of being the big favorite. Right now, she's about minus 240. Nunes on the other side about plus 210. Nunes is a talented fighter, of course. The big knock against her is her cardio. She doesn't. She tends to fade late. She starts strong early and then fades late. And I'm sure a lot of people are wondering if this is a third vulnerable favorite in a row in a women's bantamweight championship fight. My sense is not really. I wouldn't want to bet against Miesha Tate in this spot.
Yeah, man, we're on the same page. I have Miesha Tate dominating.
Just Miesha Tate dom. Do you have any sense if someone wants to reduce the odds instead of laying minus 240? Do you think there's a way she's more likely to win by decision or by knockout or something?
I think it's going to be punches and bunches. I think Miesha Tate she's an aggressive woman. She's here to actually make a statement, and I know she's been getting some good hands. So I see her just kind of pummeling Amanda Nunes. So I see the hands going at it.
All right, so you think by knockout or inside the distance might be the best way to bet that one?
Yeah, I would say she's going to stop her.
Okay.
That'd be my guess.
Sounds good. And then the last fight, Jose Aldo and Frankie Edgar, highly debated fight, and probably the most common opinion that I've come across is that this fight is just that the lines are too tight, too unpredictable, too hard to predict, and from a betting perspective, you just want to pass. That basically Aldo and Edgar are evenly matched. The odds reflect that, and that there's no betting value one way or the other. Same thing for the total. The fight could either go the distance or we could see an early finish, and the odds reflect that. So most of the sharpest opinions that I've heard are saying that they're going to pass on this one. Do you have any sense of which way this fight might go?
Well, I think Frankie Edgar will take a split decision. It's going to be definitely a close fight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Jose Aldo and Frankie Edgar kind of mimic each other when it comes to techniques. I think Jose Aldo, his legs are a little bit, you know, the low kicks are a lot better than Frankie Edgar,
Mm-hmm.
but Frankie moves around so much. You try to hit Frankie Edgar is the hardest thing to do. So
Yeah.
I see Frankie taking a split decision.
All right. Stitch Duran, thanks so much for your thoughts. If you had to leave us with just one prediction that you think is your biggest prediction for the main card of UFC 200, what would it be?
Well, I think Peter Khan's doing a great job. That's my prediction. But I think you know I think Brock Lesnar is going to surprise a lot of people, and I think he's going to come out victorious in pretty big fashion.
Wow, there you go. Stitch Duran thinking that Brock Lesnar should be competitive, not about to get mauled by Mark Hunt, and maybe betting value with Brock Lesnar currently plus 150. Stitch Duran, thanks so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Anytime, guys.
Always on the go? Bet365 has one of the top mobile platforms in today's market. Sign up today and don't let your busy life keep you out of the game.